A few years ago, Chili's were falling into irrelevancy, but that all changed when they decided to start paying a close eye on social media and gaining as much attention as they can. But not just views, but actually turning the views into paying customers, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Chili's needed a refresh. They were feeling that they were stale, and you can literally see that because I was scrolling on their social, and from a certain point, you can tell when they're content started making a change on social. So you're scrolling, you see like their fun new stuff they've been doing, and then you see a breaking point, and this is a bunch of boring, polished stuff. So they made a big switch, evidently. 2022, they had a marketing budget of $32 million, and in 2025, I had to look at this twice. In 2025, $137 million they upped it to. 4 times their marketing budget. That went to like expanding teams, I'm sure research, I'm sure their spend on social and just in general. So they really started paying a close eye to their marketing more than they ever have before. And the CMO, George Felix, said out of this, so $132 million their marketing budget, or $137 million. And CMO George Felix said, social media has become a real driver of our business, tangible traffic into our restaurants and sales. So from that, you would think he would make a shout out to, Super Bowl commercial or increasing paid ads on TV. But no, he said our social media has become a real driver of our business. So that's from a very, very large company like Chili's. And this is a company that is big. The Chili's is a big corporation, and a lot of the time challenges that come with that is you can't move as fast as you'd like. Social is as fast as can be. Things change on the daily basis. So to be relevant, you have to move quickly. And as a big corporation, we see it time and time again. It's very hard for them to do so because of the layers and layers and layers and layers of things that in this case, content has to go through. And by the end of it, it's either destroyed, boring, they killed it away. I've seen that many, many times. Or it's now become irrelevant because it took too long. So social is fast. And I'm sure part of this large budget increase was a lot of research. And I'm sure they realized that. So what I think happened, I think they went from a long process of approving social media content to shortening that very, very much. I guarantee there's a tight team that has 1 or 2 approvals before things go live. And they worry about the risky stuff after the fact. I guarantee it. When you start taking this more risky approach to social, you have to have less hands on it, because as it goes up the corporate ladder, especially farther away from people who know social, a CMO, a CEO, C-suite executives always have an opinion because everyone has an opinion. And a lot of the time, opinion can kill the content. And in this case, they started moving as quick as can be, jumping on trends as they were hot and just learning, finding out what works and learning, which is a key part of this case study. So the first thing I do want to talk about is their breakout of the triple dipper sampler. They started leaning into this item that they had, making relevant content with it, leaning into trends. And I've seen a couple times when people talk about trends, like, there's this distinction, you have to be unique on social. Of course you have to be unique on social. You can't just blend into everyone. And then I see this argument of, if you lean into trends too much, you aren't unique. There is a huge misconception around that for the people who say that, because if you're leaning into a trend, you should be leaning into that trend with one of your core business products, offerings, your benefits. Something around your business should be the key part of that trend, because a trend shouldn't be doing what everyone else is doing. It should be taking this format and making it your own, inserting your business into this way, into this certain trend. That's why trends work a lot stronger for certain businesses than others. But to bring your product or your service or whatever you have to the forefront of the trend, make it the key aspect of the trend, that is what makes it unique. And they did this with their triple dipper sampler. It's kind of a mouthful. They saw crazy increases in sales. So as they started seeing success on social, you post something, you see success, your goal is to lean into it harder. You don't find success and just continue on. You find something successful, you lean into it. So as they were posting, this triple dipper sampler, every time we talk about it, post about it, it overperforms compared to the rest of the content. Let's do more stuff. And as they were doing that, in 1 year, so 1 year later, the sales of the triple dipper have grown 70% year over year, and they now accounts for 14% of Chili's total sales. That is absurd. Absurd. Quite literally showing you the value of social. They were making a product stand out. For whatever reason it was standing out in their content, so they leaned into it harder, and it became one of their top selling items. That is quite literally turning content into cash. they were making a killing on the Triple Dipper. That was one of their first booms when it comes to social. Knowing that people love to see it, they gave them more of it, but in fun ways. Not in boring ways, in fun ways. Key aspect of it. And another huge item was their mozzarella sticks, the cheese pulls. So I heard the CMO talk about how their cheese sticks, their mozzarella sticks, are more flat and they have a really beautiful cheese pull, and that became trendy in itself. People going, even UGC, a lot of UGC, of cheese pulls to the point where it became a meme. To the point, and this is absurd, where Chili's last year, now at the time of recording, this is their second year doing it, but last year they brought a Halloween costume of freaking mozzarella sticks being pulled apart. The cheese pull became a Halloween costume. And we talk about sales and stuff, but this is just another side of it. We talked about this in one episode before, but finding something successful on social can actually lead to a new part of your business or a new product you launch. They saw so much success with their cheese pulls of their mozzarella sticks that they made it into a costume. You think 15 years ago, they would have said, hey, Chili's, you think you're going to create a Halloween costume? The CEO probably would have looked at you like you had two heads. Because absolutely not. But because social proved that people like it, they say, you know what, let's try this out. And people resonated with it. Making a small amount of costumes last year, and they completely sold out. So now they know they have this thing that people like to see, that people like to buy. It was a 2-person costume. They have for every, now this year they could bring it back again, and they did bring it back again, I'm sure, but they bought more as well. So they used social to prove something and then brought it to life. People often do it the other way around. They say, oh, let's, 4 of us, 4 people, put our heads together and think about something that might work. They create this thing, they put it into the world, no one gives an F about it. Social gives you an opportunity to turn that around. It gives you an opportunity to see if something works, then make it into a product. So it's proven already. They realistically knew people love their mozzarella sticks and the cheese pull, that if they created something like this, people would love it, and they love it, they did. So start thinking like that. Use social as a place to test things. Test in social. Once you find something proving itself that it works, bring it to real life. And if you do things in that order, your activations will be that much stronger. And talking about these 2 things they found on social, keep in mind, there's a whole nother aspect to it. Because a corporation like Chili's, and even if it's a smaller business, when you make, advertising, let's say general advertising, when it comes to like billboards, really old school, TV commercials, posters on your actual physical locations, you put it based on your data. Yes, of course, what's your top selling item? You might put that on a poster, a billboard, an ad. What do you want to push? That's what you push. But now they have these numbers that prove the Triple Dipper sampler. I said it right that time. People love it. And the mozzarella stick cheese pulls, people love it. So even we saw that on social get proven, they could bring that to other aspects of their marketing, which is a whole nother game in and of itself. So the amount of value social has given them is incredible. It's incredible, and it is quite literally game changing. And what really set them apart is their speed. They were able to post something, see what worked. So maybe over a week they post something, and whatever stood out, whatever overperformed, they were able to double down and jump on it again. Once you post a bunch of things and you see certain things overperforming compared to things that perform obviously worse, you lean harder into where things work and you do more of it and more of it. And they were extraordinarily quick with that, and they were quick with leaning into culturally relevant things. So social, I want to put a very close eye to this, is very much so about speed. Being fast, being on top of things ASAP, because the faster social moves as fast as anything can move, and it's as unpredictable as anything. One of our first episodes, we covered ocean spray. Talk about unpredictable. Go take a look at that episode. Absolutely crazy. So like with speed, once you realize a joke lands, it becomes a series. You lean into it more and more and more. Social becomes this laboratory of ideas. Let's see what works. Let's try things. Let's push things. Let's see what people grab onto, what they latch onto. And there's no time in history where you're able to test this fast. Yeah, 80 years ago, or even less than that, I say 80, freaking 20 years ago, you have to run a campaign and you have to see the results over 9 months. I can post a TikTok today and in 3 days, evaluate, see how it did. Now, yes, that is an example. I know things can jump up after 3 days too, but nonetheless, stick with me here. You can post and react. I said 3 days. It could even be a few hours. If you really are a big account like this, you can see sentiment as quickly as anything. The speed of social is the advantage, the speed. By Q4 2025, Chili's posted a 24% same-store sales increase and 16% traffic growth. It marked 17 consecutive quarters of positive sales growth. So if that didn't tell you, they are doing very, very well as a business. They are trending upwards as you can. And the average annual sales per company-owned Chili's, so corporate-owned, 4.5 million per year. I don't have any numbers on their margins, but average, a solid margin for a corporate-owned restaurant. I would like to think well run between 10 and 16%. That's kind of wide, but I've seen variations there a lot. And it's funny, like, it's to the point where, because you are getting true info about your business, you are really trying to extract as much you can from social to improve what you're doing as a company. And in a way, it's really taking your business goals and your objectives and your need to learn about your customer, and it puts it into this, like, you're taking your business plan and you're like making it into memes because you're trying to understand the world, and in order to understand the world and culture, you have to be in culture. You have to lean into culture, and that is exactly what they did, and it's absolutely proving itself successful. If you're liking these breakdowns, make sure you tune in next episode, because we are going to be touching on Maybelline, an absolute giant of a company, and how even a 100-year-old company that has lost its smoke over the past 10 years ago, 8 years ago, has absolutely found relevancy once again with a very smart strategy. So tune into that one.